In June 2026, Pakistani security forces shot their own citizens. 11 dead, over 70 injured. Their crime? Asking for cheaper flour. This happened in a region Pakistan has spent 77 years calling Azad Kashmir. Free Kashmir. Free territory. Free people. They've said it to the UN, to the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, to every international forum that would listen. But when the wheat prices spiked and people took to the streets, Pakistan didn't see free citizens. It saw a threat. It cut the internet. It placed 10 million rupee bounties on civil rights leaders. And it opened fire. And here's what makes this move more than just another protest crackdown. Everything Pakistan is doing in Muzaffarabad right now, every bullet, every bounty, every blackout, is making Bharat's case at the international table, without Bharat having to say a single word. They didn't want independence. They didn't necessarily want to join Bharat. They just wanted cheaper flour. May 8, 2023. The Pakistani government doubled the price of flour in the region it administers as Azad Jammu and Kashmir. 3 months later, electricity prices doubled too. People could not afford to eat. They could not afford to pay the electricity bill. So they did the only thing left. They took to the streets. Out of those protests was born the Jammu and Kashmir Joint Awami Action Committee, or JAC. Founded on September 16, 2023, not a militant group, not a separatist movement, a coalition of traders, lawyers, transporters, and students, ordinary people with ordinary demands. By May 2024, the JAC organized a long march towards Muzaffarabad, the region's capital. Pakistani security forces opened fire. 5 people died, including a police officer. Islamabad panicked. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif threw 23 billion rupees in subsidies at the problem, promised cheaper flour, promised lower electricity tariffs. The protests stopped. The promises did not last. By September 2025, the streets erupted again. This time, the crackdown was worse. At least 9 people were killed. Over 200 were injured. Another negotiation. Another agreement. 25 points this time. Promises of hospitals, educational boards, infrastructure. By 2026, barely any of it had been implemented. And that, right there, tells you everything about how Pakistan governs this territory. It does not solve problems, it buys silences, and silences eventually run out. Now here is the part of this story that never makes international headlines. And it should. The rivers of POJK power Pakistan, quite literally. The Mangla Dam, built on the Jhelum River in Mirpur, generates approximately 1400 megawatts of electricity. When it was built, the local population was promised 300 megawatts, free of charge, to meet their own needs. They received nothing. By 2010, the Mangla Dam had produced 250 billion units of electricity, and not a single paisa in royalty was ever shared with the AKJ government. To make it worse, the dam was built on the most fertile agricultural land in the Mirpur district, displacing thousands of families, and then Pakistan turned around and sold that electricity back to the people whose land it was built on, at higher rates than consumers in Punjab pay. Then came the Neelam Jhelum hydropower project, designed to generate 969 megawatts. Construction began in 2008 and it was handed to a Chinese consortium. The cost was $5 to $6 billion, which would take 30 years to repay. Locals watched their rivers get diverted, their fish habitats die, their river flows reduced through Muzaffarabad. A local resident put it plainly. $5 to $6 billion have been spent, Yet no electricity is being generated. Who is responsible? No one seems to know. The project has been plagued by structural defects and delays. The electricity that was supposed to transform the region is still not reliably flowing. And now consider Gilgit-Baltistan, the larger northern section of POJK. Pakistan's own WAPDA estimates it holds 40,000 megawatts of untapped hydroelectric potential. The installed capacity today, 150 megawatts. Residents of Skardu and Gilgit endure up to 21 hours of load shedding every single day in the winters. The water is theirs, the electricity is not. This is not mismanagement. This is a system working exactly as designed for Punjab, Pakistan's benefit, not theirs. Pakistan has spent several decades at the United Nations invoking one principle: self-determination, the right of the Kashmiri people to choose their own future. It is a powerful argument, and it is built entirely on a lie. Under the 1974 interim constitution, the territory Pakistan calls Azad Kashmir controls none of the things that actually matter. Defense, Islamabad. Foreign affairs, Islamabad. Currency, Islamabad. Communications, Islamabad. An AKJ council chaired by Pakistani Prime Minister himself holds executive authority over the most critical policy decisions. This is not autonomy. This is an authoritarian administration dressed up in the language of freedom. Freedom House, the internationally recognized democracy watchdog, assessed POJK in its 2025 Freedom in the World report. Score 30 out of 100. Category not free. Political rights 9 out of 40. Civil liberties 21 out of 60. Pakistan invokes self-determination at the UN while running a territory that an independent international body rates as not free. That contradiction has always existed. The June 2026 protests made it impossible to ignore. Here is what pushed POJK over the edge in 2026. The JAC had a 38-point charter of demands: subsidized flour, lower electricity bills, abolition of 12 seats in the regional assembly reserved for refugees living outside Kashmir, an agreement that effectively gave Islamabad-aligned voters a built-in bloc to control local elections, investigation of corrupt officials, infrastructure, and jobs. The Supreme Court of Pakistan administered Jammu and Kashmir ruled that those reserved seats could not be abolished without a constitutional amendment. That ruling lit the match. On June 5th, 2026, the same day Pakistan announced regional elections for July 27, the government declared the JAC a banned terrorist organization. Let that settle in for a moment. A coalition of traders, lawyers, and students demanding cheaper bread and honest elections declared terrorists. 72 people were arrested within 18 hours. Internet services were cut across Muzaffarabad, Rawalkot, Mirpur, Poonch, and the Neelam Valley. This was later confirmed by the internet monitoring organization NetBlocks. Bounties of 10 million Pakistani rupees were placed on 4 named JAC leaders: Shaukat Nawaz Mir, Umar Nazir Kashmiri, Khwaja Mehran Arshad, and Sardar Aman Khan. On June 9th, the crackdown turned fatal. Official figures: 11 dead, over 70 injured. The JAC puts the toll at over 30. The internet blackout made independent verification impossible. The POJK administration then requested 14,000 additional security personnel from the federal government to control its own civilian population. Amnesty International called the crackdown unlawful and disproportionate. More than 50 British members of parliament wrote formal letters to UK authorities because British Kashmiris could not reach their own families through the communication blackout. Pakistan had turned a protest over flour into an international human rights incident. Now look at the other side of the line of control. In 2024, Jammu and Kashmir held legislative assembly elections, the first in a decade. A functioning democratic process in a region Pakistan spent years telling the world was oppressed under the Indian rule. In June 2025, the Chenab Bridge was inaugurated, the world's highest railway arch bridge, connecting a Himalayan region that was once only reachable by mountain road. It is not just an engineering achievement, it is a statement. On one side of the LOC, elections, bridges, connectivity, investment. On the other side, internet blackouts, bounties, anti-terror charges for asking for bread. Bharat did not need to manufacture this comparison. Pakistan built it, brick by brick, crackdown by crackdown. On September 22, 2025, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh addressed the Indian diaspora in Rabat, Morocco. He said, POJK will be ours on its own. Demands have already started surfacing there. It will itself say, मैं भी भारत हूँ, I am India too. That day will come. On June 9, 2026, Bharat's Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal responded to the killings in POJK. It is a desperate attempt by Pakistan to cover up its own failings and deflect attention away from its human rights abuses. Measured, factual, devastating. And that brings us to the strategic reality that every analyst watching this situation has begun to acknowledge. 1. Pakistan's Kashmir narrative is collapsing on itself. For 7 decades, Pakistan has shaped the global conversation on Kashmir in its own language, on its own terms. The protests of June 2026 shattered that framing, not because Bharat said so, but because the people of POJK themselves demonstrated it. You cannot claim to speak for a people while shooting them for demanding electricity. 2. The development contrast now writes itself. Bharat does not need to advertise what it has built in JNK. Every image of a Rawalkot protest, every internet blackout, every bounty on a civilian's head does the work automatically. Set against the Chenab Bridge and functioning ballot boxes on Bharat's side. 3. International legitimacy is shifting. More than 50 British MPs, Amnesty International, these are not Indian voices. These are independent international actors now questioning Pakistan's conduct in a territory it has spent decades presenting as liberated. 4. Pakistan is being stretched thin. Civil unrest in POJK, a full armed insurgency in Balochistan, where the BLA briefly seized the town of Nushki in January 2026. Terrorism spreading through its own frontier provinces. A military that built its own identity around projecting power outward is now desperately trying to hold its own borders together from inside. 5. The CPEC vulnerability. The Karakoram Highway, the economic artery connecting China's Khasgar to Pakistan's Gwadar, runs directly through Gilgit-Baltistan. Protesters have already blocked it. Every disruption to that highway is a message to Beijing that the territory CPEC runs through is not as stable as Pakistan has promised. There is one important thing that must be made clear. The people of POJK are not necessarily marching for Bharat. Their demands are economic. Their anger is at Islamabad. And their suffering is real and belongs to them alone. And here is what is also true. When Pakistan invokes self-determination at the United Nations while banning a civil rights coalition at home, it loses the argument it has been making for 77 years. When Pakistan generates electricity from Kashmiri rivers and sells it back to Kashmiris at punishing rates, it loses the moral authority it has built its entire Kashmir position on. When Pakistan places bounties on the heads of traders and lawyers asking for subsidized flour, it answers Definitely, the question that defined the Pakistan dispute since 1947. Who actually speaks for the Kashmiri people? In June 2026, the people of POJK answered that question themselves. And the answer was not Islamabad.